The vastness of space hummed around them, a silent symphony of stars and galaxies stretching into infinity. It was a reminder of how small they were, yet how significant their mission could be. In a cold, sterile room, the only warmth came from the soft glow of the translator device. The room was filled with advanced technology, yet it felt devoid of life, a stark contrast to the vibrant cosmos outside. Dr. Eleanor Vance, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs, adjusted her glasses. She was a brilliant scientist, yet in this moment she felt the weight of the universe on her shoulders. Her hands trembled slightly as she prepared to speak. Across the table sat Zila, his antennae twitching subtly, his three eyes a deep, captivating violet. He was an enigma, a representative from a race humanity had been at war with for generations. His presence was both intimidating and fascinating. He was an enigma, a representative from a race humanity had been at war with for generations. Yet in this room it was just the two of them, two beings from different worlds, brought together by a shared hope for peace. The tension was palpable, but so was the potential for understanding. Yet in this room it was just the two of them, two beings from different worlds, brought together by a shared hope for peace. The air was thick with unspoken words, each of them carrying the weight of their respective civilizations. They were here to bridge a gap that had seemed insurmountable for so long. Eleanor cleared her throat, her voice a nervous tremor in the silent room. She knew the importance of this moment, the potential it held for both their species. "Ambassador Zyla," she began, her fingers tracing the worn edges of her datapad, "I believe that our research—" Her words faltered, the enormity of the situation momentarily overwhelming her. "I believe that our research—" Her words faltered. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The translator device hummed softly, a reminder of the technological marvel that allowed them to communicate. She looked up, meeting Zyla's gaze, and found a surprising gentleness in his eyes. Zyla tilted his head, a curious gesture that sent a shiver down her spine. His antennae twitched, and for a moment she wondered what he was thinking. Was he as nervous as she was? Did he feel the same weight of responsibility? His gaze, intense yet gentle, met hers. In that moment, the barriers between their species seemed to blur. They were not just representatives of their races, but two individuals seeking understanding. The intensity of his violet eyes was softened by a hint of empathy, a silent promise of cooperation. For a moment, the weight of their respective galaxies, the burden of war, seemed to fade. There was only the soft blue of her eyes, reflecting the luminescence of his violet ones. It was a fleeting moment of connection, but it held the promise of something greater. There was only the soft blue of her eyes, reflecting the luminescence of his violet ones. In that shared gaze, they found a common ground, a bridge of understanding that transcended their differences. It was a small step, but it was the beginning of a journey towards peace. Dr. Vance, his voice translated into a melodious baritone, broke the silence. "Please call me Zyla." His words were simple, but they carried a profound significance. It was an invitation to move beyond formalities, to see each other as equals. "Please call me Zyla." His voice was gentle, yet it resonated with a strength that reassured her. In that moment, Eleanor felt a spark of hope. They were not just negotiating a peace treaty, they were building a bridge of stars, one conversation at a time. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Eleanor and Zyla found themselves drawn together, their initial meetings stretching longer and longer. What began as brief exchanges of information soon evolved into deep, meaningful conversations. They spoke of science and philosophy, their conversations bridging the chasm between their cultures. They explored the mysteries of the universe, each bringing their own unique insights to the table. Eleanor found herself captivated by Zyla's quiet wisdom, his unique perspective on the universe. His thoughts were like a breath of fresh air, challenging her to see the world in new ways. His laughter, a melodic trill, was like music to her ears. It was a sound that brought joy to her heart, a reminder of the beauty of their growing friendship. Their interactions weren't always serious. They found joy in the little things, sharing jokes and light-hearted moments that brought them closer together. One evening, while reviewing data, Zyla stumbled upon a recording of a human comedy show. His initial confusion quickly turned into curiosity. His confusion quickly gave way to amusement, his deep chuckles echoing around the room. The humour was different from anything he had experienced, yet it resonated with him in a surprising way. Eleanor, watching him, felt a warmth bloom in her chest, a feeling that had nothing to do with diplomacy and everything to do with the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed. It was a moment of pure connection, untainted by the complexities of their respective worlds. "Your humour is intriguing," Zylar admitted, his words punctuated by a soft chuckle. "It is unlike anything I have encountered before. Though I must confess I do not understand the concept of a rubber chicken," he added, his expression a mix of curiosity and bewilderment. Eleanor's laughter filled the room, a sound that was both joyous and infectious. It was a moment of shared amusement that transcended their differences. "Perhaps that's for the best," she replied, her heart lighter than it had been in years. In that moment she realized that their bond was something special, something that went beyond mere friendship. The peace talks were tense, fraught with years of mistrust and animosity. Yet a change was palpable. Hope, fragile and tentative, began to bloom, nurtured by the growing bond between Eleanor and Zyla. Their relationship, a secret they both held close, began to influence their work, their shared optimism bleeding into the negotiations. "There is a shift," Zyla confessed one evening, his 3 eyes reflecting the soft glow of the city lights outside. They were on the balcony of her apartment, the vastness of the city mirroring the vastness of the universe that separated their people. "Your counsel? They are starting to listen." Eleanor leaned against the railing, her gaze drawn to the stars. "And yours?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "They see the hope in your eyes, Eleanor," Zyla replied, his gaze meeting hers. "The hope that you have ignited in mine." Their love was a whispered secret, a stolen glance, a shared smile across a crowded room. It was the kind of love that thrived in the shadows, hidden from the prying eyes of a world that wouldn't understand. Every touch, every look, was a silent promise, a testament to a bond that defied the chaos around them. It was a universe of their own, existing in the space between their worlds, a fragile bubble of hope in a galaxy teetering on the brink of war. In this universe they found solace, a sanctuary where their love could flourish away from the turmoil. The stars above seemed to watch over them, twinkling with a knowing light, as if they too were part of their secret. One night, as the cityscape glittered beneath them, Zyla took her hand, his touch sending a jolt through her. The city lights below mirrored the stars above, creating a bridge between their 2 worlds. They stood on the rooftop, the cool night air wrapping around them like a protective cloak. In that moment, the city was theirs, a vast expanse of possibilities stretching out before them. "There are ancient legends on my planet," he said, his voice low and husky, "stories of beings from the stars who found love amidst chaos." Eleanor's heart thrummed. She had heard similar tales, whispered in the dark corners of her own world, stories of love that transcended time and space. These legends, though ancient, felt more real to her now than ever before. This moment, their hands intertwined, the city lights painting their faces in a warm glow, felt like a scene ripped from one of those very legends. It was as if they were living a story written in the stars, a tale of love that had been waiting for them to bring it to life. The warmth of his hand in hers was a reminder that they were not alone, that their love was a beacon in the darkness. "Do you believe in such stories?" she whispered, her gaze locked on his. Her voice was barely audible, a soft murmur that seemed to blend with the night. She needed to know if he shared her belief, if he too felt the magic that surrounded them. The question hung in the air, a delicate thread connecting their hearts. Zyla's thumb gently stroked her hand. His touch was reassuring, a silent affirmation of his feelings. It was a gesture that spoke volumes, conveying a depth of emotion that words could never capture. In that simple touch, she found the answer she was looking for. "I believe," he said, his voice filled with warmth, "that the universe has a way of bringing hearts together, even across galaxies." His words were a promise, a declaration of faith in the power of their love. They stood there, bathed in the light of 1,000 stars, knowing that their love was a force that could transcend any boundary, a beacon of hope in a universe filled with uncertainty.